Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Beyond the Summit presentation of the winner bracket final for the Summit 6 European Qualifiers Phase 2. And we've got Team Liquid versus Adfinem here in Game 2 of this best of 3. So, first game actually going to Adfinem, underdogs between the two, I would say, but obviously neither team has been really fully tested here in this kind of post-TI season. Adfinem playing some minor cups, Team Liquid playing not a lot, and so, yeah, finding some new data here as they match up against Adfinem, at least in game number one, a little bit empty-handed. Now, we did see Oracle banned out in phase one previously. Now it's actually going to be picked up as a first pick for Liquid, and that just has some interesting ring to it. But we'll see how Bulba can bring it back here as we get into game number two. I myself am Blaze, and I'm joined by none other than Mike Loris. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well. I'm hoping for a little bit of a more interesting early game, as in like one team not getting completely and utterly dominated, because that really set Liquid back a lot. Like they're able to rally off of a handful of great fights after that, but when you're running a Sand King and an Omni Knight as your support duo up in a 3v3 scenario in top lane, it is actually possible to find some success. I think once you find level like 3, 4 on those heroes, get the extra range in the Burrow Strike, make Purify and Repel just a little bit stronger, and actually have level 2, so you can have Repel and Purification. But because Adfinem were able to take that lane so quickly, like from level 1, and get what, like a 5 kill lead or something ridiculous like that so quickly, heroes like Sand King and Omni Knight, they just don't really have any way of recovering. So Finem, they had the option of taking a Drow Ranger first pick, decided instead to go for Sanking up against the Oracle. But yeah, hopefully for Liquid, they just get slightly more lane control. That tri-lane definitely caught them off guard.
Definitely. I do think that at this point they might be looking towards something along the lines of a Mirana for Liquid. It's a really great hero that still keeps your lineup pretty ambiguous. You're able to still run this Mirana in multiple ways, as we saw Mind Control take it to the offlane previously. And yeah, it's just one of those heroes that are set up quite well by Oracle. But after them snatch it up first, this obviously is an option, but it does come at a cost in the sense that Fate's Edict is a really good answer to a lot of Mirana's damage, and of course the False Promise can respond to the arrow pretty well. So after I'm very heavy in the front-loaded magical burst damage, let's see what they can do with it. But for now, Liquid, um, if they want like a Huskar, they'd have to pick it now. But I think they could let like an Alchemist or a Slark go to phase two. I still think that's going to be fully countered. They go for the Void for now. This is going to allow them to really space their fights out well, but they're going to have to draft it a little bit differently than what we saw from, I believe, VP in the previous game. It was essentially a Void with a Slark as a damage dealer, and it's just a really hard lineup to actually deal damage into Chronosphere 4. So in this case, I think they're going to be going for much more of a ranged emphasis. Could go back for the Drow. That wouldn't be too bad. But I definitely think that they're going to look to change things up as they move forward in terms of initiation and teamfight.
Drown probably was definitely on the radar, obviously not anymore. By picking up an Oracle, you do force Adfinem to take some Huskar precautions. Still perfectly viable after having second picked that Faceless Void as well. So for Liquid, they do have quite a lot of flexibility and freedom to pick pretty much whoever they want, just because they pretty much forced a couple of these bans out from the Adfinem squad. Seen, I think it was Matomaman who's been playing the Faceless Void for them, so getting a little bit more of a carry-ish oriented hero for Miracle, someone who can scale a little bit later, and then getting that more so early game setup from the carry Faceless Void is that Liquid definitely have run in the past and recent past and can pull out again here. But despite the Faceless Void being very survivable, despite the Oracle also being on the field, this opening from Adfinem is just so pickoff heavy. Like, you get the arrow, you get the Moonlight Shadow to set up for Sand King, who eventually will have a Blink Dagger as well, that Team Liquid will need some way of being proactive, and some way that probably doesn't involve Chronosphere. The cooldown in Chronosphere is really, really long to kind of depend on that as your only way of starting small scale ganks.
Yeah, so we'll see what the other ban is. It's going to be another hero that can deal good damage into the Chronosphere in this Morphling. Morphling Oracle still has some pairing, though. Not as much, because he doesn't really get to take full advantage of the Strength Morph during that time, but still likes to get aggressive and can be facilitated quite well with the Oracle's Burst at the very least. So that's going to be taken care of here. It means that Adfinem probably aren't going to be looking at like an Ancient Apparition. Ancient Apparition is a really good counter to both the Oracle heals and the Void's Time Walk, but in this case, if they're banning out heroes like Morph, that means they're kind of afraid of those healing mechanics to an extent, as well as the burst damage mechanics, and they're probably going to look for a different tack, a different approach here. I still assume it's going to be Skylark offlane Sand King. He plays it really, really well, But I think MNT's support would be the next pickup, and they do ban out the Bounty Hunter. Riki, maybe?
Riki is definitely viable. They've run it in the Summit qualifiers before, so it's not like it's completely off their radar, although it may be off the radar of many other teams. I'd say Adfinem are one of the few that would still realistically pick it up in any given game. It's amazing versus
Yeah.
Faceless Void. It's amazing versus Oracle, and Blaze, as usual, gets the call.
They say Bulba's the Oracle. Come on. But no, MNT, like, this is his playstyle. This is his kit. Like, he made a name for himself being able to make really great roaming early plays with Bounty Hunter, and then Riki came into the pool and, in some ways, just became superior. Obviously, the track is a very unique mechanic to Bounty Hunter, but that smoke screen is really strong against these heroes in particular. So I think they're going to be able to combo up pretty well. Means detection is going to be really important for Liquid supports moving forward. Means that Bulba's going to be even more poor than before because he's the 5 position, having to buy up, I would say, a couple of centuries every few minutes. It's pretty costly. But we'll see how they itemize in the early game to try to mitigate the effectiveness of this Riki against Miracle. That's the one thing that I think some teams kind of fall into, is a bit of a trap where they put so much emphasis on the Miracle in mid laner, probably Rubik this game, I'm not sure, but we'll see. But they put so much emphasis on ganking him that it just plays right into Liquid's hands. They're ready to counter gank. They'll have sentry wards in mid. They'll have heroes ready to respawn. They'll have Oracle with a TP available. And if you fall into that trap too much, if you put too much emphasis on Miracle, then it could just be a situation where they are able to meet you one step ahead every time.
And of course, like, you got to respect Miracle, but by doing that, you also kind of put some disrespect on Mind Control and Matuma Man, who are definitely players in their own right. If you place too much priority on handling your mid, then typically your side lanes are going to suffer, in which case Mind Control and Matuma Man are going to get just nuts out of control farm, and that's never, of course, what you want to have happen. But this opening from Adfinem is still very consistent with being very pick-off heavy. So much detection is actually needed here by Liquid that I don't know, maybe they're even going to consider heroes that can naturally get up some of that vision. Chronosphere is going to be nice just so you can bypass all that invisible shenanigans. But for Liquid, they're going to start rolling some dice, get the Ogre Magi, Bloodlust, Faceless Void, definitely a combo, but it's also just a hard hero to kill off despite having so much stunning action from Adfinem.
Really good for babysitting and counter roam. We're going to see this Ogre pretty much just chill out in the mid lane. They realize that Riki's going to put pressure there. Well, the Ogre can meet him. One Dust plus Ignite. You probably have a kill on Riki, to be honest, but we're going to be seeing Bane as the 5 position here for Spartan down bottom, and that could actually create some kill combos where you just set up Bane and Mirana together. And Faceless Void, he may be able to withstand a lot of damage thanks to that Time Walk, but if you get hit by a Nightmare Arrow, there's nothing you can really do. You're going to get brain stabbed, you're going to be nuked down, and you could be just straight up killed off. So with a long duration arrow set up by Bane, I think it's going to be pretty scary. I'm not sure, obviously, if Thug is going to be picking up the Mirana in mid as usual, or if they're going to... Pretty much, there's 2 ways it plays out. Either Mirana rotates, is in the safe lane, and he's already with the Bane, or the Bane rotates to the mid lane and helps out the Mirana who's already there. So one way or another, you're going to be seeing some kill potential, and we'll see with their last pick exactly what they want to do with their lanes. But Bane, Mirana, great setup. And there's 2 supports already picked up, so you're not going to be seeing any major silences come out to cancel the Bane's Fiend's Grip. It's really only either Void with his Chrono or Bash, or the Ogre Magi available here to break the Fiends.
Yeah, there typically aren't many core heroes that are actually able to disrupt grip, like Drow Ranger. Some of the more fringe heroes, Sven, I guess, can do it on occasion. You know, you have those types of heroes that you can kind of build around, but for Liquid, just by picking up this Darkseer, not going to have a ton of answers. Vacuum can do it. It's for sure not the best way of doing it. It does seem like Liquid are just going to try to play their own game with playing around with this Chronosphere. Still, they lack a lot of damage.
Yeah, I'm really worried about that.
You could vacuum Chrono a whole bunch of heroes in, but they won't actually die unless you have another hero to actually do that DPS. But that's again where this last pick for Miracle is going to really just tie this whole Liquid draft together. But if Adfinem are able to handle that, if they're able to commit 2 heroes towards mid lane and shut down Miracle, or at least slow down Miracle, then the rest of Liquid's heroes individually aren't really super impressive.
Yeah, they have so much setup. Like, the reason that Universe plays both the Void and the Darkseer in this kind of context is really good control, really good setup, really good initiation, but together they don't really accomplish enough in terms of damage. I mean, you think about Ember Spirit as a good synergy for either of these, damaging in the Chrono, damaging in the Vacuum, cleaving, but it's so bad against Riki and all these other really good controllers that I wouldn't advise it, and it just really you have to scratch your head. Is it going to be like an Exhort Evoker looking for Meteor combos? A Tinker able to do damage? I think that would be okay. But again, all these are heroes that struggle against Riki and against all these good controlling abilities. So I'm really scratching my head at the fact that Void's in the safe lane. I mean, yes, Void would have trouble against Bane Mirana, but even more so, it's like you're lacking something if you have a safe lane Void. So we could go to what we saw in the previous best of 3, which is actually a mid lane Void, and then have the Juggernaut farm out safe, which would kind of give them a good mix of damage and item progression.
It would give them a little bit of a better balance, but I still don't think it's going to be to a point where they could say, okay, this Faceless Void, Darkseer kind of Chronosphere setup combo is now entirely worth it. Juggernaut just being melee is naturally going to struggle at kind of dealing with this, and Finem again have so many stuns and ways of proactively setting up on the Juggernaut, including that smoke screen, surprise attacks with, well, any number of heroes with stuns, some of whom are going to have Blink Dagger's grip as well. Liquid, yeah, this Juggernaut is going to have a couple of issues, especially now with this last pick, Sven. Even your main strength in the Omni Slash, usually a one-hit kill button, is going to run into some Warcry armor. So this Liquid draft is very, very execution heavy. They're going to have to cause quite a lot of chaos in the early stage and really try to leverage this Ogre Magi a lot, I feel, with this Darkseer if they want to find success and get enough room for this Juggernaut and Faceless Void to actually be comfortable fighting into all these stuns of Finem.
Yeah, this is tough now. I really do feel like generally most casters evaluate a draft by ease of execution, ease of victory, and I feel like Liquid have really their work cut out for them. They are very comfortable with the Oracle for Bulba and the Darkseer for Mind Control. These are bread and butters for them. But at the same time, like Matoma Man, Miracle, they have to really do work. Obviously, the 9K potential helps them out a little bit, but in general, like they have to just hit their abilities perfectly. They have to move on the map in exactly a very specific way in order to make the fights worthwhile. Otherwise, they can get kited, they're going to get controlled, or they're just going to be ineffective. I really do think that it's really easy for Adfenim to take this away in the early and the mid game. And even then, Liquid still have to execute really well to pull it off in the late game. So they can definitely prove us wrong. Liquid is a very strong team. They know what they want to accomplish with this draft. But on the onset, it does look like they're going to be struggling in terms of just getting their core abilities out in the right way.
I mean, just look at how they deal with Sand King, or I guess I should say how they can't deal with Sand King. Caustic Finale is going to be just backbreaking for Liquid, and I mean they have 4 melee heroes going up against Sven, going up against that Ricky Smoke, and of course Sand King, all of whom are just all-stars up against melee heroes, and Liquid's lane control mostly involves them just running at you with like Ion Shell and Bloodlust and trying to kill you off that way. It's a very slow means of getting kills at all, and as far as just passively controlling the lane, it's going to be really hard to challenge Finem on that front as well, because they can just, at the drop of the hat, start nightmaring you and stormhammering you and just throw everything in the kitchen sink at you. So I'm really not sure how Liquid are going to come out with the win with this draft, but as you said, they have a lot of MMR, so let's see if we can get some big plays out of Liquid, some great Chronospheres from the Faceless Void. Void is very balanced, and Chronosphere is a very balanced spell, so perhaps they'll be able to make it happen.
Yeah. I think we're spending a lot of time talking about how high the skill floor is for this lineup, but the skill ceiling is really high as well, and that means the potential for them to be able to combo up their abilities and for them to theoretically control and damage their opponents is still really strong. It just means that they have to be very precise in how they move. And we're going to see Miracle leading the pack. They need a controller. They need at least the Fortune's End to come out on their kill target if they're going to find anything. But Mirana might just skill up Leap here, and if that's the case, he should be fine.
Miracle's going to run to the south and hopefully intercept. Not sure if that's really in the cards right now. So 5-man gank train of Adfinem going to result into, well, I guess a bounty room. That's not nothing, but you could definitely do a little bit better than that, and they definitely kind of need to be doing a little bit better than that. Again, in the early game, it's all about causing chaos. It's all about leveraging the kind of overpowered feature of the Ignite and the Ogre's tankiness and the Blade Fury of the Juggernaut, all combined with Ion Shell. Lots of very cost-effective and high-damage early game spells from Liquid. If they can use that to kind of get a small lead in the early onset of this game, then I can definitely see them controlling the pace at least somewhat, and until they get the Chronosphere, we'll have a pretty good shot at handling the lanes, and then they have the Chronosphere, of course, afterwards, and the Omni Slash afterwards to really jam it home. But again, it's so difficult with these lanes, and so it looks like Finem are actually doing a little bit of a lane switcheroo here. Spartan as well as Madara are going to go up towards top instead of bot.
Yeah, this is going to be Skylark that rotates down to bottom lane, and they obviously want the carry to be putting pressure out up top against the Darkseer. But here Skylark does take a lot of damage. If this was an Orb of Venom start on Kuro, then he probably could have just straight up killed him with a little bit of luck. But yeah, in this case, he wants the Windlace plus the Dust to deal with the Rikimaru, and that's just going to force Skylark back with not really too much skin off his nose. So that'll be him coming bottom, dual laning up against the Oracle Void with the help of maybe next time's Riki. And then, of course, we're going to be seeing that Bane Sven up top, or in this case, Bane Marana, which is the combo that I was talking about when the arrow comes online.
Knight and run at you. The pretty much game plan of wherever Kuroki is going to end up.
Oh, that's Ogre's game plan every part of the game, man. That's 100% of the game. Ignite, run at people.
Pretty good job against Marana Bane, but bottom lane, the Riki getting a free lane while Skylark was kind of forced to fountain up is level 2 now. And he might just go ahead and get Blink Strike at level 2. Waiting for that level 3 mark is really when Riki gets really, really powerful. But the Sand King being forced back to the fountain, not actually a terribly huge deal considering how good he is up against these heroes in lane. In fact, the Riki already has a little bit of advantage starting off. They can apply even more pressure through that, and look at Bulb already, just 2 shots, half HP. Yep,
and Skylark has they got the Bounty Rune, now has his boots. Like, they can close distance so easily, and I think First Blood is definitely going to be bottom, but mid actually is where we're seeing big damage coming out, and it's going to be the other way around! He spins onto the Bane, but he's going to be able to survive through it all. You cannot underestimate how tanky a Bane is. You look at this 24, 24, 24. This guy starts, I think, with 22 base stats and is able to just tank through so much. Good armor, good HP, the Brain Sap potentially heal, and that's allowed him to trade very, very effectively. And now it's actually going to be him going down, and it's going to be Miracle who ends up feeding the First Blood.
The Bane cast a Nightmare on himself with 22 HP as well. So Nightmare, wouldn't have even denied him there. Just, I don't know if calculation or what, but bottom lane Kuroki gonna start going in with the Fire Blast. Not a ton of damage there. They're gonna try to go for Skylark, purge off the heal from that Purifying Flames with another set of flames. Grab the Sand King, and the Riki without that smoke screen, again opting for Blink Strike as per normal is not really gonna be able to help out all that much. So at least losing the Miracle Juggernaut is not going to be completely without merit as they get something elsewhere. Just a couple more of those, and Matoma Man is looking okay in this lane, but this is, of course, with kind of a very slow start for Skylark.
We're going to be seeing that maybe next time did end up using his Sentry Ward up on the top lane before he made his move, so that means that they aren't going to be able to deal with the Sentry that's now in place, and that gives kind of Matoma Man a safe spot. But as you mentioned before, it's still going to be a little bit rough for him to farm because he's a melee hero against a Sand King, and you can say the same for Sven as he's up against the Mind Control Double Ion. So Mind Control rushing out that Soul Ring early. He actually picked up the recipe just to get real online as quickly as possible, and Sven does not have the easiest time. He has good damage. He can still man up against a few of these Ion Shells here and there, but it's not as efficient as he'd like it to be.
Warcry gives him speed to get out from Ion Shell, but Surge is usually going to give just a little bit more speed than Warcry, so the vast majority of Sven's kit in the early game here just doesn't really do all that much. As long as he's able to survive and get a handful of CS, though, he should be pretty happy, and we do have a little bit of rotation, a couple of supports going up towards the top lane for Liquid, leaving Matoma Man on an island down bottom, which is, yeah, still going to put him in a little bit of risk going up against the Sand King, helping the Sand King to recover, but you got to stop Madara from farming. If you can delay any sort of Helm of the Dominator timing, that'll, of course, delay all further timings with the Ancients not being stacked.
This is what I've been looking for, though, is the maybe next time rotations here. He has his smoke available once he decides to put the skill point in it, and he's got the haste rune. So looking for an easy pickup on a courier. If not, just grab an opportunity here on the mid lane. Miracle has his healing ward behind him, so not the easiest target to bring down with the poor man's shield. But this is what you want out of Riki, is just the fact that he's off the map suddenly forces Liquid to punch up, to play careful around one another, and creates opportunities. Maybe next time now away from the Sentry Wards, might find his next target, and in this case it would be Bulba, who is a bit isolated, but still no easy kills without assistance, and of course you always are afraid of walking into the Ogre with that Dust and Ignite.
Pretty much every single time Riki shows himself on on the non-bottom lane, it forces Liquid to consider buying more detection. They're walking around with one set of Dust on Kuroki, but sentry-wise, they don't really have any way of seeing Riki right now. They're going to have to spend even more gold, which they're just not getting on their support heroes in order to prepare for that. So it's really an economic move here from Finem, and of course it's just what you want to be doing as Riki anyways, but Liquid supports aren't getting quite enough to really have a comfortable time against this, and we're seeing more lane swaps now as Madara going to get his at least safer farm on the bottom lane, opting to put Skylark up against the Darkseer, but a level 5 Sand King can handle Ion Shells pretty decently.
Yeah, so kind of do a little bit of the lane swap here. We're going to be seeing him kind of control the waves pretty well. Kuro would love to come in and try to get something on Thug, but the most he can really do is put the leap on cooldown here, which just is not going to even be bothered with. The Mirana has her infused raindrops, has bottle, has plenty to work with here, and yeah, is going to be pretty much fine. Generally speaking, the Jug versus Mirana matchup turns into pretty much both heroes farming. In this case, the Bane added a little bit more threat to the Radiant side, and that meant that Miracle ends up falling behind in last hits. But as a whole, neither one really going to be suppressed, killed off, or anything of that sort, as they're both going to be floating at pretty high HP.
Maybe next time hasn't even shown himself actually on the top lane yet, just staying invisible throughout the entire stay on this lane. So Liquid still aren't quite sure where this Riki is going to pop up, and target of Bulba is definitely a realistic one for this Riki Sand King duo to go on. But bottom lane, Spartan is going to get caught with Fire Blast. There is an Ignite here as well. Nice stun onto 2, letting Spartan disengage a little bit. Matoma's going to dive forward, looking for a couple bashes. Not lucky just yet, although he did only shoot once. And you're going to fire again. Not quite going to do it with the Brain Sap. Spartan's now under tower and should be just fine. Madara going to pop a rather late God Strength. He's going to stun a Croaky, saving Spartan's life one more time. The Ion Shell not going to do it. Zanky kills off the Oracle elsewhere as Madara's going to shove everyone else back, keeping Spartan alive. I don't know how no one died in this bottom lane, but end result is Finem do walk away with 1 extra kill.
Yep, and Skylark's going to be able to clean up Bulba up top with the help maybe next time, mostly taking the brunt of the tower as they do go for that dive, smoking him and bringing him down, and Bulba just going to sacrifice himself once again, or Kuro to Roshan. But yeah, just, I mean, this is the tankiness of the Bane. Level 2 Brain Sap. He very smartly doesn't Brain Sap early. He's going to die to the Chrono. What can you do? That's a Chrono on CD. Usually you just say Space Created at that point. But if Madara goes down 2, that's going to be pretty brutal. And it looks like he will. I mean, the Moonlight Shadows come out. At this point, Bulba has sentries, but can he get close enough to use them? And actually, Skylark's here too. They must have realized this. But maybe now catching out Bulba. Going to be caught with the Burrow Strike. And this will be very, very bad very quickly as we see the Caustic pop. And down he goes. This is instead going to be a 1-for-1 as a whole, and maybe not just that. They see with the Sentry Ward now MNT making his move, but is it going to be enough for them to Ion Surge and kill? No, the Blink Striker way will let MNT live. So with that hot and heavy exchange, we have a kill score of 3-2, and overall Liquid are just not getting what they want out of the map.
And that chase for the Bane just kind of put into action what we were saying earlier. Just Liquid don't really have many ways of just catching one hero off guard and very quickly killing them without expending these very high cooldown spells, i.e. Chronosphere, which, yes, gets the kill in the end, but you can only use that so many times, and to kill off a Bane, not really happy about that either. Just these heroes in Liquid don't really do that all that well unless they're able to stick to their targets with Surge and Ion Shell, which is probably at this point their most highest consistent source of damage to actually get kills in the Finem heroes. But again, they're running into stuns, so Liquid finally do get at least that kill on the Bane. But Chronosphere now not up on Matoma Man. Like, Mind Control being here is not really super scary. Spartan is going to get vacuumed back into pretty much nothing. TP coming back in from the Riki is going to scare everyone off. Yeah,
Mind Control is the tankier of the two, but all the same, it is going to be just neither one going down. Bane can keep his distance with that Nightmare. Obviously, the Brain Sap has been a key for his survival multiple times over. It's going to be just the Fire Blast onto the Sven, and they'll get the Omni Slash with the help of the Bloodlust. So Louis Madara going down, very big kill, but in the meantime, Epicenter comes out, bringing down Mind Control on the bottom lane. So trades Bane for Darkseer down bottom. Can they get one more, though? It looks like Matumba shall live. So at this point, it is going to be 2 kills, bringing Liquid back to even on the kill score. And much needed kill on Sven, I would say.
Yeah, not really sure how this Sven ended up that far away from any sort of safety, but hey, a kill's a kill. Liquid are going to be more than happy to get that. And all the while, Thug has had a lot of free
going
time
in.
To jump in towards Miracle. Already used the spin. Arrow free-handed will land. Starstorm to finalize the kill. Tummy Man's arrival just a little bit too late. He does not have a time walk. Used it right before he TP'd, it looks like, which otherwise would have been time walking a Chronosphere, which he's still looking for. Moonlight Shadow is up. Matoma Man is going to have some vision help with the Ogre. Doesn't even need it, though. Chronosphere does reveal. And Rana now is in the middle of no man's land once again. How do Finem's heroes keep ending up here? I don't know, but still, it will be a 1-for-1 trade.
They go deep. The Greeks, they really just don't hesitate for anything. You hear these guys in the practice room, they're all shouting, they're laughing. They have a really good sense of morale, and sometimes it takes a dive next to the tier 3 tower in order to really bolster your confidence. But as a whole, a very important kill on Mirana, but only really nullifies the kill that already happened on the Jug. With the Omnislash and cooldown of DD, Mirana cleans it up, and Miracle still having a pretty rough game, only slightly ahead of Madara's Sven.
And they're going to jump in towards Miracle. Smoke's
They actually
any sort of spin. Oh, spin, ADHP bottle. They have another burst strike in just 1 second.
Looks like that'll be enough distance, though. He's got enough movement speed that it's not going to be Spartan to stay on top of him. And nice single stun from Kuro keeps Miracle alive. But Fiend's Grip, level 6 comes out. I think thanks to the Tome of Knowledge, and that's going to be Kuro dropping very low and should just be going down.
Now towards the north, they found Bulba with just the Sand King and the Ricky, forcing out the False Promise. I think that's going to pop him pretty quickly. Spartan left behind by the rest of the squad is going to try to teleport out here. It's going to be really close to live again! How does he keep doing it? I don't know. The healing ward is not being dealt with. Finally, it will be killed off. Arrow will go right between them. The Omnislash will get mostly dispelled by that Sandstorm, and Skylark is on the run with another burst strike in just a handful of seconds. Should get a lot of distance away, even though Matoma Man's coming around. He's going to back up with this stun onto 2 heroes. Smoke screen, you're going to further split up Liquid. Even the Satyr is helping out in Thug's attempt at killing off Mind Control. Maybe next time she'll be able to finalize the kill. No, it's the Satyr's going to take it away. Never mind. Faceless Void will eventually get the kill on Ricky. But Neutral is doing a lot here as Matoma Man and Miracle with this healing ward, which is, again, not being dealt with, surviving and doing a lot. Spartan's going to arrive, can't do anything, but Nightmare himself, that's not really the play.
He tried to body block it.
Man.
He tried to body block it, but there's phase boots. Not even phase boots, it's just the pathing was good enough for the Juggernaut to get through. Looks like Madara is going to be in some trouble here. Bottom, yeah. Bubble will finish it off for a pretty good kill, 380 gold, but yeah, that big exchange there. Skylark loves to make these little plays with the Sandstorm. In that case, stop preventing the Omnislash from bringing him down, scaling up the Sandstorm earlier than your traditional like level 9, and yeah, is able to get the distance he needs from the Jug, but misses 1 Burrow Strike uncharacteristically. Tries to go for 2, and 1 would have sufficed, and in the end, I think that they lost quite a bit there, because as you mentioned, the neutral kill came out on the Darkseer, while it was his opponent, the Riki, yeah, who ended up killed off. So pretty brutal for Finem, as they are looking for these exchanges to favor them quite heavily. They're short cooldowns, they're heavy burst, but in the end, they just get caught out a little bit too far from home. And Miracle definitely noticed that body block, by the way. Like he's so good about pathing in terms of like going up against the Viz heroes, even scouting smokes with the possessed neutral creeps. He knows something's up, but is it going to be a quick enough rotation from Bulba?
Double star arrow with the grip. Matoma Man's here. Chronosphere's available. Will catch once again. The rest of the heroes are coming in kind of slowly. Thug still taking a lot of just right-click damage from Matoma Man and should be going down. Yes, I think that was a Elastic Bash as well. A 1-for-1 trade, but every single trade here, well, we're actually not done yet. Spartan still dusted up. Moonlight Shadow is going to wear off, making him a little bit quicker there. Matoma Man has no mana, actually, so Time Walk is going to get just enough. 1 more for the Bane. Ignite is there, and a Fire Blast, even a multicast. Okay, it's a 2 kill for Liquid. But losing the Juggernaut again is no small price.
Yeah, and they all had to rotate for that. They lost Juggernaut. Miracle is going to be so far behind this game. Still, as I say that, Madara's Sven is even worse off. I really feel like they just need to make time for him. In the end, he's still going to be the main carry of the game. Like, he's a Sven against 4 melee heroes. He's one that can do so much this game if he just gets his items up, but he's been thwarted time and time again. He's 0-2-0, and his CS count is not making up for it. That's the sacrifice they made when they put him up top against the Darkseer. So in the end, now we have an opening here. Blink Dagger up for Sand King. Doesn't go for the epicenter to start. He just goes on Kuro. Not the best target to focus down, but if they can kill anybody at the beginning of the fight, it will be really good. Still, the Oracle turns it around with the False Promise. Nice smoke onto 3 heroes, and he'll put a Ring of Death around with the tricks of the trade. Kuro's still pretty healthy, though, and Thug isn't getting a kill just yet onto Bulba. In fact, he's going to have to leap away very soon, but leads him into the Sand King, who goes in for the epicenter of the Burrow Strike and goes in for the kill. Omnislash will not do enough. Skylark will live, and 2 will fall. Matoma Man. Time Walk in just 2 seconds. He will go for Skylark, but the Burrow back. Matoma Man caught in the smoke, the arrow, and his own demise. That is going to be a 3-for-1. Again, Madara doesn't get much out of it, but his team thrives in these kinds of heavy back and forth skirmishes, and Liquid just completely underestimating their opponents.
And then the heroes on Finem thrive under those circumstances. It seems like Finem, as a group of players, also seem to be the most comfortable in those type of engagements. And this is just a small taste of why Sand King is just so good up against Liquid, because they're all melee. They're so clumped up that the Ricky smokescreen forced them to dispel along with the tricks of the trade. Liquid weren't as a unit and therefore weren't able to actually leverage the vast power of the Darkseer. They were kind of forced to scatter every which way and then group up again to get hit with just a giant epicenter from Finem. And in the meantime, it is worth noting that Madara was brought down by the duo of Oracle, I think Ogre. They got him in a corner and they were just able to bring him down. So Madara now 3 deaths to his name, not really reaping the benefits off of a 1-team fight from Finem, but Thug has a 15-16 minute Aghanim Scepter, so yeah
it kind of makes up for it.
Okay with having the Sven being a little bit underfarmed.
Yeah, I think it works out in the end here, and it just makes it very difficult for Liquid to do anything without Chronosphere. We do see that it is up and available now, as Matoma Man rapidly progresses towards his Lincoln Sphere, but he doesn't have it now, and they're just gonna actually go for a 2-man jump here with the Ion Shell. Good damage coming out, but Vayne still will get the Brain Tap off before he goes down. In fact, a nice burrow on the back end. Still, Vayne will fall, and Matumba is caught in the Nightmare.
Skylark will run away from everyone else. That should be it, right?
Yeah, there's really not much more to connect with here. I mean, they might be able to get one more stun out here if they can get detection on MNT, but he's just too far away, and that's it. A Chrono for a Bane. They'll get the tower too, which is probably the only way they're going to be able to get a tower, but I feel like Venom are actually confident to go back in. Skylark just looking for the opening.
Skylark is in the perfect spot to go in, but doesn't really see any targets to initiate on. Now does.
Oh no.
This is the perfect strike. Miracle with the spin is going to read it preemptively. Skylark's going to take an absolute beating from this Blade Fury. The Ignite should eventually kill him.
Tranquil Boots though.
Don't have any juice to give to him, and they also Fire Blast him. Maybe next time Sig Charge will save him. Burrow Strike back in, just a suicide because he knew he was dead anyway. Another kill for Liquid, but not really quite the kill they wanted. A half HP Mirana was hanging around that fight the entire time, but they couldn't quite catch up to her.
Your traditional build of 2 points at Ignite will be nullified by Tranquil Boots, but he had maxed out Ignite, able to get the kill on the Sand King after that Bane. So Liquid starting to gain some momentum here, but the fights just keep on getting more difficult. They need to get this tier 2 tower quickly, but they're up against Fiend's Grip. It's not coming out just yet, but in the meantime, Thug is putting out more and more Starstorms thanks to that Axe.
Liquid are backing off as a full group, and they will be able to make a clean retreat without losing anyone.
Oh,
it is
great
important for
Observer
Finem
Ward
to actually answer this Juggernaut Healing Ward, and they're just not doing it. Smoke back in. Ricky is going to get dusted up, but he'll have someone to jump to, so he should be just fine for right now. Smoke screen and trick to the trade, keeping him safe. Sven is going to get with the
center.
Thing stun onto Miracle is going to be dodged, but now here comes the Epicenter in the back end with the Starstorm. They do see the face with the Oracle ultimate, but I still think he's going to pop afterwards. They will lose the Sven as the Omnislash is now going to bounce over to the Sand King. Miracle right on the tail of Skylark. Not quite enough gas in the tank though to get that kill. Burrow Strike now back in onto 3 with the tower shooting onto the Darkseer as well. Healing Ward or not, they will not be able to save that Darkseer. They might be able to kill off the Sand King with Unite, and they will do just that. Now they're on to the Mirana with the spin. Fortune then going to stop her from moving, get a bash as well. And that's going to be that, but the Ricky's not done. Will kill off Bulba in the end, is now in way over his head. And he's going to get with the Chronosphere right on the edge. Perfectly placed by Matumba Man. Ricky's down. Spartan's the sole survivor, looking for a last kill onto the Ogre, but the Ogre with the Bloodlust is just a little bit too quick. Liquid, that was a pretty darn good fight considering their current circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, opening up with the Epi Burrow onto 2, it could have been a lot worse, but the Oracle there, Bulba saves the Void, and Matumba is able to do so much more in that time frame. So, able to really nullify some of the damage. Also, we got to see actually that rare vacuum-canceling Fiend's Grip come into play there, which helped out Miracle. So really the backbone of Team Liquid here, the Oracle and Darkseer supporting their teammates, keeping them alive and effective. And that's going to allow them to continue to fight. But at Finem, what's their mindset at this point in the game? I mean, we have that they had a decent lead of 1,500 net worth, but it's not been conclusive, and Madara still hasn't really progressed too much. He's taken out a double Ancient stack, now triple actually, but in the end, he's still like halfway through the net worth chart. He's still behind the Darkseer even.
The mindset has to just be, how do we get farm for the Sven? Like, what plays could we possibly make in order to gain Sven just a little bit of extra room? Because he popped God Strength in the last fight. He did nothing because he has no real relevant damage items, Helmet Dominator only. Once he does get this Echo Saber up, at least they'll be able to add him to the fray, but they have to start going into this like kind of space creation mode. With the Sand King having a Blink Dagger, maybe next time stalking Kuroki with Thug right around the corner, like pickoffs like this, what they have to be looking for, but I Don't think they'll actually be able to land this arrow. It's almost going to land because Kuroki almost walks right into it. But it seems like Liquid have that read. They know that they have an advantage farm-wise over the Sven. They're just going to keep on going. They're grouped up on bot.
Yep.
They will actually catch up to the Ogre Magic with the Nightmare.
Yep, and just should be able to finish him off without costing the Fiend's Grip, which means that there's no way that Liquid can really take this fight. They don't have Chronosphere, they don't have an Ogre, and that Fiend's Grip is still available. So a lot of fear in Liquid's hearts and minds, and they just have to be very cautious about how they make their next move.
They're just waiting for someone to walk up the hill.
Yeah, trying to bait it, but in the end, it's just a very easy tier 2 pressure, and I think they're confident. There's going to be smoke coming through, but the scan catches it perfectly. The southeastern scan, Ad Finem's the northwestern one for Liquid. Now we're going to see a spin come through. Is it going to be an epicenter, though? Coming in, big damage onto Bulba, the one who could save them all, and he's down for the count. We will see Fiend's Grip come out on Miracle, and it actually will keep him alive for a long, long time. Arrow into the Chronosphere. Matumba Man is neutralized, but where's the damage coming in from Ad Finem? Nice little bit of tricks of the trade, but Mind Control is still up and kicking in the healing ward. The wand, and that is going to be Liquid just sitting high and dry. There's just not enough damage to kill off these cores, and now they're running down Ad Finem.
Spin with the dust. They see the Sand King perfectly. Mirana's going to leap over the hill and probably will survive. Sand King bursts through the trees with the blink out, will also survive. Man, these Chronospheres from Matumba Man are just working out pretty darn well, just catching everyone right on the edge so that Miracle can still right-click through that time sphere, and Ad Finem having the Sven locked down and killed off every single time just isn't contributing nearly enough compared to what the Juggernaut and the Faceless Void are putting out as far as damage output. Nice Burrow Strike onto a couple heroes. Starstorm landing because absolutely everyone's smoke screen in the middle, but no one's actually dying.
They've got to get somebody. There we go.
Here. And the Sand King's off to the side looking for the reinitiation, but he hit with the time dilation, so he can't actually Burrow Strike for a very long time now. As everyone else from Ad Finem going to start to spill forward. No. They do catch one with the Nightmare. He does have an Omni Slash, but there's no chance casting that. And they are looking for Kuroki. They guessed the wrong way. Ogre may or may not live here, but they do get their return kills, mostly into Miracle's Juggernaut.
Should be alright here. Ogre caught in the fog with the TP. He's ready. But, yep, still good follow-through from Ad Finem. I don't think they had anywhere near what they wanted out of the first part of that exchange, just dead center of the map. With that Epicenter killed off Bulba, and then that Chrono just too well. We talked about the skill ceiling, that the Chronospheres are really coming out from Matumba. He's making things happen, and though he does get arrowed, like, they still are just too survivable. They have the mechanism, they have the healing ward, and they make the Chronosphere really count. But now we do see Ad Finem trying to go for the Roshan. It's going to be scouted out. Bane sees their movement. He's just going to tank the gank, but can they finish off Roche without God's Strength? Burrow Strike onto Kuro, but they're not in condition to fight. They might kill off one hero here, but they don't really have enough, and the Juggernaut's going to be coming back in soon with that Omni Slash.
Sand King disengaging to the south, has an Epicenter prepped up. Stun onto the Faceless Void is going to clog the hole.
Oh, two!
Get through with the Chronosphere onto two, with the Iron Shell on top as well. Arrow will be dodged. They'll take down the Sand King and the Ricky in as many seconds, and now they're looking for a little bit more in the Mirana. Can't quite catch up to her, but Roshan is pretty low, so Liquid are going to swoop in, grab a ton of kills, and then clean up Roche. Double life for them. It just seems like every single time in these fights, Ad Finem do a decent amount of damage. The Burrow Strike and the Starstorm, it does quite a bit, and then Liquid just put down the healing ward, and Ad Finem run out of DPS afterwards, and then everything just goes downhill. They really need to find some finishing blows, and usually that's going to be Sven with the Echo Saber, but again, he doesn't have it. Oblivion Staff is such a bad item, man. It doesn't do anything in these fights.
Well, it does something, but it's definitely not worth mentioning. It's pretty much going to be a huge power spike when he gets this Echo Saber, but that's only comparative. Only compared to how really diminished he's been up to this point. Didn't have God Strength throughout that bit where he's trying to finish off the Roshan. If they had been able to speed things up a little bit, that would have been really nice, but end of the day, so you are kind of limited by your cooldowns to that extent, so Roche takes too long. Liquid are able to just put the fear into Ad Finem. The fact that Miracle was back, he obviously couldn't TP to the fight immediately, but he was back with his Omni, and Matumba hits that beautiful Chronosphere. It's just Liquid who take back control of the map, and now Ad Finem have to be the ones that aren't fully certain about the next engagement. I mean, there's an Aegis here on the Faceless Void. He's got a Lincoln Sphere, so he's going to be the one on the front line, happy to soak up all the damage as he probably dives even past the tier 3 tower here.
Liquid's damage items just a few moments ago weren't really that substantial, but now they have some of them coming up. Smokescreen is going to silence absolutely everyone. Starstorm It's going to do a lot of damage as well, but that's just not quite enough. There's a pipe up on the Darkseer. He's got the mechanism as well. There's just so much sustain here from Liquid in their items. Even the Faceless Void with the Lincoln Sphere, pretty common item, especially first item for a carry Void, but it just everything for Liquid is just how do we stay in this fight, and it's working out pretty well for them so far. Jump in, more stars, again doing not that much damage considering the pipe, and now Tomaman actually found Skylark, gets a couple of bashes. Eul Scepter will save the Sand King for a couple seconds, but he's going to fall into a lot of heroes, gets dusted, gets burned by the Oracle. Now they're down there probably
but Madara commits with God Strength up top. They're going for a bit of a base race here, just trying to use Nightmare, maybe the Enfeeble, just to slow down the roll and try to trade Rax for Rax as Madara does work up top. Smokescreen, all these tools to keep them off the barracks, and we're actually going to be seeing Madara take down the melee Rax 1-for-1.
Multicast is going to slow him down just a little bit, but they do Chronosphere on the bottom lane, and Matoma Man is in, vacuum back into a wall as well. I think the Raxes on top lane have actually been dropped. But the bottom lane, it's not going that great for the Dire either. Mind Control's dropping fairly low himself despite all of his survivability items. Just doesn't have enough to survive the constant Mirana Starstorms with the Riki on his tail as well. Link strikes and smoke screens. Oh my, leap forward Starstorm, not quite going to do it, but they will get him in the end. And the bottom lane structures of Finem are held. What a narrow trade. They do save the Sven also. He actually gets out of there. And Liquid lose Raxes. Yes, Liquid lose Raxes.
Exactly. That was just really good patience from Madara. He kept an eye on what was going on the Radiant side for sure, but he realized that he could just keep heading. He could just keep doing his thing because there's just so many controlling abilities that force Liquid to take precautions. The big thing is, again, they're melee heroes. You can't smoke screen like a Drought Ranger with a Dragon Lance, but you can certainly smoke screen a Juggernaut and a Void hitting on your melee. So yeah, it's Madara's able to almost take an uncontested barracks, trades it out with Ogre for a little bit, and in the end, he gets the Rax, he TPs away, and now Ogre dead to rights, as we see Skylark and M&T, the duo back together again.
Yeah, Ogre Magi survived through that whole epicenter, though.
Yeah, that's just Ogre things. I mean, that hero
doesn't really matter in the end since he did go down. Matoma Man threatening Thug on the bottom lane. Thug does have a Blink Dagger and a TP scroll, so he should be just fine. They're actually not done on top lane. They're going to go for Mind Control. He may be a little bit tankier. He's got the mechanism and allies, more importantly. Maybe next time I'm just going to get burned down by the Oracle. Ion Shell doing some serious work there. And now Skylark. Blink Dagger not available because of the cancellation of playthrough. He does have a Burrow Strike, but it's okay. That didn't work, apparently, because the Oracle got him first. That's going to be Finem overstepping their bounds just a little bit too much. But I do like how they're trying to get these kind of cheesy kills on this top lane, very cost-effective kills, just a handful of kind of supporty-oriented heroes, and let the Sven farm elsewhere.
Yeah, this is just insane. At this point, Finem have like a push advantage up top. They can kind of play the map top and bottom. Matumba does still have the Sages, does still have that Linkets, but it's going to be popped. He's going to be Nightmared. They're going to combo it up with the Arrow here for the first kill and look for a Fiend Script for the second one. So it's going to be God Strength pop. They know that it's going to be a prolonged exchange with the second life here, but they're actually going to disengage here as Matumba looks to turn. Can't find really anybody, just Madara on the Chrono, not the target you want, and we're going to see if it's enough as he can pop the BKB as soon as he comes out.
He's kind of already dead, though. He's going to try to line them up so he can start cleaving through, or TP. Not going to work. First hit bash definitely doesn't work. He's dead. Darkseer charging forward, already uses Vacuum, doesn't really have all that much in the way of control in the front lines here. Trying to get in the front of Thug, that's also not quite going to do it. Starstorm and the leap out, he will be just fine, but still two heroes down in favor of
Smoke at
Liquid.
the Epi, though. Skylark's ready to roll just outside of vision. Even if they had an Observer, they couldn't see him at this moment, but they don't have any buyback on the Sven, so it's got to be with everybody ready to go. Mirana healing up, bottling up, trying to get back to the fight as quickly as possible. They need a good arrow and a great epicenter, but Bulba keeps his distance with the Ether Lens, and they don't find an opening there either. So it is going to be a Rax advantage for Liquid now, taking the bottom lane, and that smoke looks like it won't be anything.
Tier 2s are still up in the other lanes, so Liquid can't immediately go for another set. This may just buy enough time for the Sven to respawn. They also have a Glyph just now coming off of cooldown, so Liquid most likely can't go for anything else here, but they do equalize the Rax score, at least I guess take an advantage in that regard. Get a couple kills, including the Sven's first BKB charge. 10 seconds down the tubes, did pretty much nothing with it, and Liquid not getting split pushed or anything all the while. It's a pretty big win for them. They do have to still worry about keeping this pressure up, making sure that this Sven isn't able to get a ton of farm, because even though he is behind God Strength as it approaches level 3, can still just destroy any given hero. They're looking for Miracle up towards top lane. Epicenter being prepped up with the blink in as well. It's going to be a lot of damage, but not quite enough.
Oh, the Greaves!
He's gonna get healed up by the mechanism. Now he's gonna turn around with the spin. Maybe next time Left 4 Dead, as Scarlet's gonna bail out on the other side of the fight. Juggernaut surviving everything because the Dark Seer came in just in time.
Gorgeous. Just mind control, making it happen. Greaves, pipe, turn it around, get the kills they want, and that'll be definitely the top tier 2 as well. So full push down on bottom, and now top has its own angle of attack. Yeah, it's just a really, really unfortunate spot for Finem, where they were doing so well after that trade. You can't forget the fact that they didn't earn that through a team fight. They didn't like succeed in a 5v5 situation. They just were able to play the map better. So in the end, they still are faced with the struggle of having to deal with a 5-man Liquid lineup that can still do a lot with a good Chronosphere, and they have to be extremely cautious about how they make their next move. We do see that, of course, there's the Diffusal Blade on the Riki, but so too on the Void. The Manta Linken's Diffusal Void is now hopping up to the high ground and doesn't really have much to fear.
Scarlet's gotta be very careful whenever he does that. He does not have Force Staff. He has a Yule Step, but it's gonna get purged off.
Oh! He needs the buyback. This is brutal. How do you time your buyback when Madara is still in mid? You can't force the pressure on the top at the same time, but there's going to be the Chronosphere coming out, and Madara's not TPing home. They've lost 2. He's just going to pop God Strength and go for mid, and they're going to try to cancel any TPs they can with a Burrow Strike aggressively. Kuro will not be TPing back home, and they're going to be fighting right here, right now. Big damage coming out. Inside, there's going to be the smoke, the tricks, everything. Madara still doing what he needs to do, getting disarmed by the Fate's Edict, but can he finish off the racks in time, and can they make it worthwhile? Because it looks like with the dieback of the Sand King, that while the racks may be exposed in mid, that they could just take them up top.
Then he is going to teleport back, so he can join this fight, but it'll be just him and the Mirana. Shotgun onto Matumba Man. He's going to get purged off immediately, so we can keep on swinging. He's just going in. Where are his allies? They're going for the structures as they probably should.
Manta dodge.
Hammer. Now Madara's kind of in the front lines all alone. Thug jumping with a couple more stars. Matumba Man taking a lot of damage. Will time walk a lot of it back out. Thug taking bashes and everything will go down. Will instantly buy back. Madara's now returning to the fight. Has a fresh Chrysalis. He's not with the God Strength though. Shotgun onto Kuroki. Arrow. Starstorm. That's a pretty clean kill on the Ogre. And they do hold their structures, but man, the buyback cost from Finem is starting to mount up, and they don't take the Raxes over in the mid lane. So ultimately, you just have to look at who died, who bought back, and it is still in favor of Liquid.
Yeah, like the structural damage might be slightly higher in the Dire base. They obviously broke the tier 3 in the same vein and took a little bit more damage off the barracks, but the bigger deal is those buybacks, having to expend them. The Mirana, Rikimaru, and Sand King buybacks, all for that cause. I mean, I love the rat play. I love the ability to cancel TPs and try to commit to something when you know that a 5-man fight is just not going to work. But at the end of the day, they went so far out to try to get those stun cancels that they set themselves up for failure in the ensuing fight. They just bit off more than they could chew. They lost more, and they expended more by far with those buybacks.
The only like real positioning based hero for Liquid is going to be this Faceless Void and his Chronosphere. Everyone else from Finem, they need their space. They need to make sure that their spells, their AoE spells, land on the melee heroes. Sankey needs a lot of prep time for the Epicenter. Bane, Mirana, they don't want to be in the front lines, but they charged up the hill just so desperate to get those TP cancellations that they kind of just played right into Liquid and the strength of Liquid's lineup, which is in chaotic fights, when everyone is just kind of out for their own and just free to right-click whoever they want. The fact that Finem weren't able to kite because of their kind of bold movements up that hill is really going to play against them. So Liquid are going to have a pretty decisive win. Roshan should be up soon, and most likely Liquid are going to look towards that before they make any sort of aggressive high ground play again. But in the meantime, their farm is really starting to come up, including a freaking Aghanim Scepter on Ogre Magi. I haven't seen this one in a long time, but yeah, there's going to be stuns for days. It's
absolutely insane what this hero can do with the Aghanim Scepter upgrade. I feel like this hero just increased his value like 40% in this game. Like, he suddenly is able to just chain stun over and over, kite the Sven so effectively. He'll always have the Soul Ring unrefined, but we're going to see Madara actually caught inside the Chronosphere at the very lip of it. Is this the Chrono they need, though, as we see the Warcry come out, soaking up all of that Omni Slash, and the Moonlight Shadow takes its effect. Mind Control will clean up the Riki on the back end. No backstab onto Bulba here, but we are going to be seeing this Glimmer Cape of Bane try to break the Linkens. It's not what they wanted. They're back. They're walled. They're all going to die.
Oh man, Mirana purged up, and well, she may live, but doesn't really matter. Matumba Man wants in, can't quite get the kill on the Mirana. that wasn't even like the cleanest execution from Liquid, because the Sven had the armor up the entire time. Could have very easily purged that one off and gotten like almost an immediate kill, I want to say, considering how underfarmed this Sven is. But just everyone spilling forward. I don't really even know where the Riki ended up dying, but somewhere in the back, I would assume.
Yeah, got caught out.
So many chaotic fights for Liquid, like Bloodlust and running forward on Matuma Man and Miracle. Those heroes are just running amok, and Finem, despite their amount of stuns, just end up with not enough damage, which is not what I would have expected with their draft. But just Madara not getting the farm he needs is really going to hamstring Finem.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me, is that they put him up against the Mind Control Darkseer. They knew that he was going to be a little bit limited on farm in a 1v1, but then they didn't really have any launch pad to bring himself back into the game. Everybody else was getting money. Thug had a great Aghanims timing, but in the end, it's not like the match before where Thug was able to just completely destroy everything on the OD. They need something on Madara too, up against all these melee heroes. And, well, I love their idea for ratting the game out. In the end, you can only do it for so long before it just comes back to bite you. And here we're going to see Team Liquid take the second game narrowly of this best of 3, and we're going to see what is in store for game number 3. Thanks so much for tuning into the Summit 6 European Qualifier Phase 2. Has been brought to you by, of course, BTS. I'm Blaze. You can follow me at BlazeCasting, as well as Mike at Mike Loris, and we will see you guys in just a few minutes for game number 3.